So it's the end of the fight. Dillian Whyte's won. He kind of somewhat graciously takes a knee, and reminiscent of when Carl Froch did the same thing with Andre Durrell back in the day in Nottingham, I think back in 2009. Parker copies him and does the same thing. He has this very agreeable etiquette about him. And then once it's made official that he has lost and he's being interviewed, he seems as happy as ever, like, oh, it's all fine. It's a learning experience. This is just the beginning. And you think at this moment, there's a degree of delusion going on here with Joseph and the team. This isn't just the beginning, possibly a learning experience, but we're talking pretty late now after some pretty high-profile fights. I think we're looking at a guy here who has kept a stagnant team around with him for too long, and we're just seeing him, if anything, going backwards in terms of his career. There's having a reputation as a nice guy and being agreeable and having people around you who feel like family is all nice and that, but that kind of sentiment doesn't have that much of a place in boxing. You don't really mix family with business. I know he sees Kevin Barry as something of a father figure, even though his real father, Dempsey, named after Jack Dempsey, whose spirit you'd hope would go into Joe Parker a little bit. It's that's the guy who hangs around with most. That's the guy who's taught him everything he possibly can. He's not going forward anymore with this guy in terms of learning. He's not learning anything new to his game. As I say, if anything, Joey Parker seems to be just going backwards, which is a real shame here. I think I spoke about it before, and people are just saying it more in unison now. He needs a new trainer. I don't think he ever will, though. Probably the more he's challenged on it, the more he'll just underline the fact he's tight as anything with Barry. So just asking him to get a new trainer will possibly have the opposite effect. But it's just a shame to see somebody who's physically got a lot of the goods. He's quick, he's powerful, and he's a real competitor and athlete. But there's a difference there when talking about making that difference being the very best or just being kind of decent. He said he was going to show that mongrel, he said before the Dillian Whyte fight. He certainly showed some heart and some guts and did well in the last round after a period of crappy rounds, but he really doesn't seem to have that edge to him, Parker, which is becoming more and more apparent. And the more and more you get a reputation as a nice guy and all high-fiving, calling everyone bro, hugging everybody when you should be handshaking, I think it just literally just dilutes all this natural edge you should have as a fighter. And as Eddie Hearn has said as well, the guy has made so much money already, he could already happily retire. So it's very difficult to hear Parker. He doesn't speak very passionately as well. And normally when you have conviction, it's normally there in the eyes, you can see it, or you can hear it in the tenor of someone's voice. And when Parker talks about how I'm going to go for it, how I can learn more, whatever it is, whether he's criticising himself technically, or whether he's talking about where he's going, it's very hard to believe him these days. It would be cool to see him get a new trainer. That would all be great. Teach him how to fight on the inside, not be so upright, actually make use of a good, solid, consistent jab, always come in at 230 pounds a round, not really much more, all these things, but I really just don't see it happening. What do you think? I mean, for me, it's a combination of Parker's kind of attitude, being a bit too content at the moment and not having another trainer. For those in New Zealand, what would you think would be the best option for Parker right now? Because I'm just looking at a guy who's wasting talent. He's still 26. He can still do stuff.